They invited the class loser to the 15-year reunion to make fun of him, but he came back as a millionaire CEO and shocked everyone. Before we start the story, let us know in the comments what city you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story, everyone. Her hand was warm. That's what he remembered. The warmth of that hand holding his at the door of the gym, decorated with cheap lights and balloons that were already deflating before the party even started. The Riverside High prom. 15 years ago. He was wearing a suit borrowed from his uncle, 2 sizes too big, with the sleeves folded inside so nobody would notice. In his pocket, a bouquet of flowers he had bought himself with money from 3 weeks of mowing neighbors' lawns. The petals were already crushed because he kept squeezing the bouquet the whole way there, trying to control his heart that was beating so hard it was probably showing up on the airport radar. But none of that mattered, because she was there, the prettiest girl in school, holding his hand, in front of everyone. He took a deep breath, took a step toward the dance floor, and then she let go. Without warning, without explanation. Her fingers simply slipped away from his, as if they had never been there. He turned to ask what had happened. But she was already walking away. She crossed the entire dance floor. That dance floor that seemed miles away, straight into the open arms of the football team captain. The most popular guy in school. The guy who had spent 4 years turning his life into creative and well-organized misery. And when the two of them started dancing, laughing, as if that moment had been rehearsed. Someone raised a video camera, the flash went off, and there he stood, alone, at the prom entrance, with a crushed bouquet dripping petals on the floor. And the worst part? Nobody even looked at him. It was as if he were invisible, as if his humiliation was just another decoration in the room, something everyone saw but nobody thought important enough to mention. That night, he left before the music ended. The next day, he left town, and swore he would never come back. 15 years later, a black car cut through the road back to Riverside. The man behind the wheel no longer looked like that kid. The suit was now tailored. The watch on his wrist cost more than the house where he grew up, and the car cost more than the entire neighborhood where he grew up, with the neighbors inside. But when the sign reading, "Welcome to Riverside," population, 12,847 people and 1 dog, everyone knows, appeared in the window, something tightened in his chest. Ethan slowed down. He passed the school football field. The parking lot where he used to eat lunch alone inside his mother's car, pretending he was getting ahead on homework so he wouldn't have to admit he had nobody to sit with. The corner where he got his first shove, and the second and the third, until he lost count. Everything was still there. Smaller than he remembered, more pathetic than he remembered, but still there. He took a deep breath, adjusted the watch on his wrist, a habit he had developed whenever he needed to remind himself how much he had achieved since fleeing that place, and kept driving. The diner was called Rosie's Diner and looked like it had been decorated by someone who gave up halfway through the job and never came back. Yellowish lights that flickered like they were having an existential crisis. Red leather booths, so cracked they looked like maps of country roads. A neon sign where only the letters OS and DIN worked, forming a word that didn't mean anything in any known language. And the smell. That smell of burnt coffee, mixed with French fries and quiet desperation that only small-town diners can produce. Ethan parked out front and sat looking through the window. He didn't know why he had stopped there. He wasn't hungry. He wasn't thirsty. Maybe he just needed a place that wouldn't bring back memories. He pushed the door open. The bell rang. A chime so shrill it probably woke the dead in the cemetery on the other side of town. And that's when he saw her. A woman crossing the dining room, like she was competing in an Olympic event that nobody had told her existed. An apron stained with what looked like ketchup, mustard, and possibly the special sauce nobody knew the recipe for. Hair pulled back in a bun that was clearly losing a war against gravity, humidity, and the laws of physics in general. 3 plates balanced on her left arm, forming a tower that defied modern engineering. A coffee pot in her right arm that swayed dangerously with each step. a pen behind her ear that had already given up staying in place and was now just waiting for the right moment to throw itself on the floor, and a little order pad in her apron pocket that was so scribbled on it looked like a classified government document. She talked nonstop. And when I say nonstop, I mean this woman's lungs had apparently made some secret deal with the devil to never need oxygen. So I told him, "Sir, the special is only on Tuesdays," but he swore he read on the internet it was every day. And I said, "Sir, the internet also says the earth is flat, that vaccines turn you into an alligator, and that Elvis is alive working at a gas station in Nevada. Doesn't mean we're going to base our menu on that." And then he got mad, asked to speak to the manager, and guess who's the manager on duty today? She paused dramatically, looked at the customer at table 3 like she was about to reveal the secret of the universe. Me. I'm the manager, so I had to pretend I was someone else. Went back to the kitchen, counted to 10, came back with a different voice. "Hello, sir. How can I help you? My name is Margaret." Margaret. Don't even know where I got that name from. I think it was panic. A panicked brain does strange things. Once I was so nervous during a test I wrote my own name wrong. Emma. 4 letters. Got it wrong. Anyway, the guy apologized to Margaret, twice, and then left a tip. So technically Margaret makes more money than I do. Gonna have to open a bank account for her. Ethan couldn't move because he knew that face. Underneath the tiredness, underneath the walking chaos, underneath the bun that now had a pen and a pencil stuck in it in a way that defied human anatomy, he knew that face. Emma. The girl who sat 3 rows behind him in history class. The one who always dropped her books in the hallway. Not one book, all the books, like her backpack had an automatic eject button. The one who once defended him when the football team guys were picking on him, shouting, "Hey, leave the boy alone," so loud that everyone went quiet for 3 whole seconds before continuing to pick on him. It didn't change anything. But she tried, and now she was coming toward him with a coffee pot, a tower of plates, and zero memory of who he was. "Good evening. Table for one, or are you waiting for someone?" Not that it's any of my business. I mean, technically, it is my business because I need to know how many menus to bring. But other than that, personal life is personal life. I myself have a very rich personal life. Yesterday I watched 2 episodes of a cooking show and burned instant noodles at the same time. Multitasking. She set down the 3 plates at the next table with precision that seemed impossible given the general chaos of the situation. "First time here, or do you just naturally look lost?" Not that looking lost is bad. Half the town looks that way. It's the Riverside effect. We're born, grow up, get old, and end up with this expression of, "How did I end up here and why can't I leave?" tattooed on our foreheads. It's like Hotel California, but with more corn and less good music. She pulled out the little pad from her pocket. The pen fell from her ear. She caught it midair without even looking, clearly a move that had been practiced thousands of times. "So, what'll it be?" We have the regular French fries, which are honest, hard-working French fries that pay their taxes on time. We have the reheated French fries from yesterday, which on the menu are called artisanal French fries with rustic texture, because marketing is 90% creative lying. And we have apple pie, which theoretically is apple, but I have my doubts. I've never seen an apple enter that kitchen. Maybe it's apple in spirit, conceptual apple. Ethan opened his mouth to respond. "Coffee? Great choice. You look like a coffee person." I don't know what that means, but you do. Strong or weak? Because strong here is really strong. It's not big city strong, which is dirty water with pretensions. It's small town strong. Strong like you're going to see your ancestors and they're going to give you financial advice. My dad had some once and started remembering things he hadn't even lived through yet. He spent an hour talking about the Korean War like he'd been there. He was born in 1955. The math doesn't add up, but the coffee's good. She was already filling the cup before he confirmed anything. "You're not from here, right?" "I don't recognize the car, and I know all the cars in this town. It's a sad hobby, but it's what we've got. That one there belongs to Mr. Gerald, who's been driving since 1987 and refuses to accept that his car died in 2003. We pretend we don't see the smoke. It's a social agreement. That other one belongs to Mrs. Martha, who only uses her car to go to church, to the store, and to watch other people's business. That's about 25 miles a week of pure gossip. The cup filled. The coffee steamed. It smelled like rocket fuel. Emma lifted the tray to leave, and that's when it happened. The coffee pot decided it was tired of being carried. It slipped. Emma tried to catch it. In the process, the tray tilted. The cup slid. She tried to balance with her elbow. Her elbow hit the salt shaker on the next table. The salt shaker flew. She tried to catch the salt shaker with her free hand. The pot slipped more. In a move that defied the laws of physics, logic, and possibly God, she managed to hold the pot with her chin, balance the tray with her knee, catch the salt shaker in the air with her left hand, and stop the cup from falling with her right index finger like a basketball player juggling. All this in approximately 1.3 seconds. The coffee didn't even spill. She stood there frozen in that impossible position, looking like a modern statue representing the concept of too much coffee and too little salary. She looked at the cup, looked at the salt shaker, looked at the pot stuck to her chin, and said, with the calm of someone who had seen worse things, "We've talked about this before. You stay in the cup, I stay upright. Gravity stays in its place. Everyone respects the agreement. It's not hard." She put everything back on the tray with the dignity of a queen adjusting her crown. "Sorry. Me and inanimate objects have a complicated relationship, like exes who work in the same place. We tolerate each other, but we don't respect each other. Last week, the pepper shaker attacked me. I sneezed for 4 days. I have witnesses." Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in 15 years. A genuine desire to laugh, not mockingly, not nervously. A real, warm desire to laugh because something was funny. Emma adjusted her bun. The pen fell again, she caught it again, put it back like it was rehearsed choreography, and pointed to his coffee. "Sugar's on the table. Artificial sweetener too, but I don't trust it. It looks suspicious. If you need anything else, my name is Emma, and I'll be somewhere between the kitchen and a nervous breakdown. Make yourself comfortable." And she left, talking to table 4 about the difference between crispy bacon and bacon that gave up on life, while balancing the tray like it was an extension of her own body, dropping a napkin, blaming the air conditioning for non-existent wind, and promising to come back with more coffee if the pot cooperates, which is a risky bet. Ethan sat still, with the coffee cooling in front of him. The first smile in days on his face. He took a sip, burned his tongue, didn't complain. Across the diner, Emma tried to take an order. The pen failed. She looked at the pen with genuine disappointment and said, "I gave you a good life," before getting another one from her pocket. Ethan leaned back in the booth. 15 years ago, he stood alone at a dance store, holding flowers nobody wanted, being ignored by an entire town. Now he was sitting in a diner, holding a cup of coffee served by a woman who fought against gravity, silverware, and apparently reality itself, and won. And she didn't even know who he was. He looked out the window, saw his own reflection. Behind him, Emma dropped a menu, blamed the emotional wind, and kept working. 15 years ago, nobody stood by my side at that door. Now, the only person I could never forget doesn't even know who I am. He adjusted his watch and ordered more coffee. The doorbell rang before 7 in the morning. Ethan walked in for the second time in less than 24 hours, and Emma was already balancing 3 plates, a phone on her shoulder, and what looked like a philosophical discussion with the coffee machine. "No, Mrs. Clarice, I understand that you want decaf coffee, but like I explained yesterday, the day before, and possibly last week when you called at 5 in the morning thinking it was noon because you forgot your glasses and read the clock wrong, we don't have decaf. It's coffee or tea. Tea or coffee. Those are the options. It's like choosing between democracy and democracy. Seems like there's variety, but in the end, it's all the same thing with different names." She threw 3 sugar packets into a cup, stirred with the spoon that was behind her ear. When did she grab that? And continued, "You want me to remove the caffeine from the coffee? I'm not a chemist. I barely passed biology. Failed physics twice, once because I didn't understand anything. Another time because I argued with the teacher about the definition of gravity. He said it was a force. I said it was an aggressive suggestion. He gave me a 0. I stood my ground. Paused to breathe. 2.5 seconds. Personal record. All right, here's what I'll do. I'll put less coffee in your coffee. It'll be coffee with water that happened to pass near a bean once. Homeopathic coffee. Coffee and energy. Coffee and thought. Will that work? Great. Kiss, Mrs. Clarice. No, I'm not going to church on Sunday. Yes, I know my soul needs saving. It's on the waiting list right after the broken washing machine. Bye. She hung up the phone, put it on the base. The base fell. She caught it in the air. Didn't even look. How many times a day does she do this? Ethan thought. Good morning and welcome back to the only place in Riverside where the coffee is strong, the apologies are weak, and patience is a suggestion, not a rule. Table for one, or did you bring imaginary friends this time? Ethan opened his mouth. Great, table for one. You're a man of few words. I respect that. I should try it myself one day. My mom always says, Emma, you talk even when you sleep. The other day you solved a math equation in the middle of a dream. I woke up hearing you scream 42 like it was the answer to the universe. And I said, Mom, maybe it is. We don't know. Nobody asked the universe yet. Anyway, she threw the menu on his table with the precision of a professional frisbee player. Same thing as yesterday. Or did you come to try the complete culinary adventure? Because today is Tuesday, and Tuesday is omelet special day, which means we throw everything left over from Monday into the egg and call it chef's surprise. The chef is the microwave. He doesn't have a degree, but he's reliable. Ethan tried again. I think we went to school together? Really? Her eyes widened like car headlights. Sorry, my memory for people is terrible, but for overdue bills, it's photographic. I can remember the exact amount of a bill from 3 years ago, $17.63, electricity reconnection fee, but I forget the name of the person who served me coffee yesterday. It's a useless skill, like knowing all the capitals of Europe but not knowing where you left your car keys. What year did you graduate? 2009? Me too. What a crazy coincidence. Or not. Riverside has one school. Everybody went to school together. It's like asking, do you breathe oxygen? On a planet where there's only oxygen. The answer is obvious, but we ask anyway to be polite. She pulled out her notepad. The pen fell. She huffed. We've talked about this. You stay on the ear, not near. On. It's one syllable. Don't complicate things. She grabbed another pen from her pocket. This one worked. So, strong coffee like yesterday, or do you want to try the tea that nobody orders but we keep having because management thinks that one day someone will suddenly turn British and ask for it with cookies? Ethan gave up on introducing himself. For now, coffee, strong. Excellent choice. You're consistent. I like that. My dad is consistent. Every day he wakes up at 6:17, not 6:15, not 6:20, 6:17. Reads the paper, complains that the world is ending, drinks coffee, complains that the coffee is weak, watches TV, complains that TV is bad, and goes to sleep complaining that the day was tiring. It's a beautiful routine. Poetic. I wish I had that inner peace. She filled the cup. The coffee steamed like always. Sugar over there. Milk too, but it looks like it wants revenge today, so use it at your own risk. Yesterday a customer put it in his coffee and the milk curdled, right away. Like it had been waiting its whole life for that moment. It was like watching a reality show, but inside a cup. She was about to leave. Stopped, turned around. By the way, did you see that? She pulled a crumpled envelope from her apron pocket. Among a pharmacy receipt, a napkin with a phone number scribbled on it, and what looked like a shopping list written in code. 15-year class reunion. 15. Like anyone would want to go back to school willingly. Hey. You know that place where you got publicly humiliated, ate terrible food, had to wake up at 6 in the morning every day? Let's go back. For fun. Complete madness. Ethan stayed quiet. Is she going? He thought. She needs to go. Emma continued, because stopping wasn't an option her brain knew about. The people who organize this must have such empty lives they need to relive the past to feel something. I'm not even going. I don't have clothes, I don't have money, I don't have interest in pretending I care about people I barely remember their names. Hi, how are you? Fine. That's good. End of conversation. I saved gas, staying home. She looked at the invitation. Frowned. There was this boy in my class, he disappeared. After prom, nobody talked about it. I think he left town. I don't blame him. Riverside is like those songs that play at the grocery store. You didn't choose to hear it, but you're stuck with it anyway. Ethan's heart beat faster. She remembered. Not him, but the boy who disappeared. Emma shook her head, throwing the envelope back in her pocket where it joined the general chaos of her life organized in crumpled paper. Anyway, past is past. I need to focus on the present, which right now is 3 overdue bills: water, internet, and a mysterious one that arrived without a name but with an $87 amount. My dad's appointment on Thursday, and figuring out how to convince the washing machine it still has purpose in life. It's making a noise like an airplane taking off. Last week it spit out a sock I didn't even know existed. Where did it come from? Mystery. She adjusted her apron. If you need something, shout. My name is Emma, and my hearing is selective, so shout loud. Sometimes I pretend I don't hear because I'm tired. It's not personal, it's survival. And she left. She crossed the diner like a Category 3 hurricane, grabbed 2 plates, left one at the wrong table, noticed, went back, switched them, apologized. The customer said it was no problem. Emma insisted on apologizing again. The customer laughed. Emma made a joke about how apologizing was practically an Olympic sport and she was a gold medalist. Ethan kept watching. She didn't stop, not for 1 second. Talked, served, cleaned, laughed, stumbled, recovered, made jokes about stumbling, answered the phone, argued with the toaster, promised revenge against the ketchup, and then it happened. Emma grabbed the ketchup bottle from table 3, squeezed, splash. Red stain shot across her white shirt like a paintball hit. She froze, looked at the bottle, looked at her shirt, looked at the bottle again. I knew it. I knew you were going to do this. Every day. Every day you choose violence. We could have peace, but you choose war. She wiped her shirt with a napkin. The napkin stuck to her hand. She shook her hand trying to get it off. The napkin didn't come off. Shook harder. Still stuck. Perfect. Now I have an accessory. Very fashionable. Avant-garde. I'm going to start a trend. The table next to her laughed. Emma took a bow. Thank you. Thank you. I'll be here all week, unfortunately. 2 hours later, Ethan was still there. He drank 4 cups of coffee, ate toast, pretended to read the newspaper. Actually, he was listening. Emma explained to Table 5 the difference between crispy bacon and bacon that gave up on life halfway through. Told Table 2 about how her father had strong opinions about margarine versus butter and how that had generated a 40-minute debate at breakfast. Settled a dispute between 2 customers about what was the best action movie of the 90s. Won the argument by quoting 3 die-hard scenes from memory. She was smart. More than anyone in that town realized, more than she realized herself. 15 years ago, Emma defended a boy in the hallway. Today, she was fighting alone. Against ketchup, against bills, against a life that had gotten too small. She deserves more, Ethan thought, much more. When he got up to leave, Emma appeared with the check. $7, or $8 if you want to round up and help me buy back some dignity after the ketchup attack. Ethan smiled. He left a $20 bill on the table. Emma picked it up, looked at it, blinked. This is $20. I know. For a $7 check. I know. Do you know how to do math? Sort of. Emma stood there, mouth open, speechless. Historic record, Ethan thought. You don't need to. You deserve more than just this corner. The words came out before he could think. Emma blinked again. Excuse me? Nothing. Have a good day, Emma. He left before she could answer. Emma stood there in the middle of the dining room. She looked at the money in her hand. She looked at the door. She looked at the money again. How strange, she murmured to the empty cup on the tray. Rich people are usually weird, but he seems like the good kind of weird, like a dog that barks but just wants attention. You know? The cup didn't answer, but Emma kept looking at the door longer than she should have. Deserving something and getting it are 2 different things, she said quietly. But thanks for trying. She put the cup on the tray, she put the money in her pocket, and went back to work. Because that's what she did. Always had. But for the first time in a long time, a stranger's words stayed in her head longer than the list of overdue bills. And outside, Ethan got in his car. He adjusted the rearview mirror and smiled. Because for the first time in 15 years, someone made him really laugh, and he didn't even have to say who he was, yet. But he was going to need a plan, a big plan. Because Emma wasn't going to that reunion, and without Emma at the reunion, his whole plan would fall apart. He started the car. He picked up his phone. He dialed. Hello? Yes, I need a favor. A big favor. It involves a stubborn waitress, a high school reunion, and probably ketchup. No, I'm not crazy. Maybe a little. Can you help me? Pause. Great, I'll meet you in an hour. He hung up. He looked back at the cafe. Emma was visible through the window, talking to the coffee machine again, gesturing, laughing by herself, completely unaware that someone was about to turn her life upside down. Again. Ethan drove off. The storefront gleamed brighter than the cars. Golden letters, 10 feet tall, Brandon Luxury Motors. Outside, Ethan parked his plain sedan, the same one Emma had called a car for people who don't want to be noticed but secretly do, and watched the show begin. 15 years, he thought. 15 years, and he still hadn't learned the difference between confidence and bluffing. Brandon was in the center of the showroom like an actor on a lit stage. Navy blue suit that screamed expensive but whispered 12 monthly payments. Polished shoes reflecting the LED lights, teeth too white. Hair with enough gel to glue a bumper. Too much confidence for someone who didn't know what he was doing. This one here. Brandon tapped the hood of a red convertible with the excitement of someone who just discovered fire, is a high-fidelity investment. The couple in front of him exchanged confused looks. Sabrina, beside him, corrected without losing her professional smile. That smile every woman learns when she needs to fix her boyfriend's mess in public. High liquidity, honey. Fidelity is when you don't cheat on me with your secretary. Right? Brandon didn't even blink. That's what I said. High liquidity. It means the car keeps its value, like stock in the market, just with wheels and leather seats. And he opened the door. Cup holders. 4 cup holders. Now that's a long-term investment. The man and the couple frowned. But cars lose value as soon as they leave the dealership. Brandon laughed. Loud. Confident. Completely wrong. Not this car. This one's a limited edition. They only made 500. Sabrina checked her phone. She whispered quietly. 500,000. Brandon continued without hearing, pointing at the emblem on the hood like it was a certificate of authenticity. 500 in the whole world. It's rare. In 5 years, it'll be worth double, triple. It's giraffe capital. Silence. The couple blinked. Sabrina closed her eyes. She took a deep breath. She counted to 3 mentally. Working capital, Brandon. A giraffe is the long-necked animal you confused with a camel at the zoo last month. I know what a giraffe is, Sabrina. Brandon adjusted his tie for the 3rd time in 2 minutes. I was making a metaphor, because the investment grows. Tall, like a giraffe. It wasn't a metaphor. It was verbal confusion with a registration certificate, but he sold the idea with so much conviction that the couple almost believed it. Almost. We'll think about it, the man said, already backing toward the door with the speed of someone who just realized they entered the wrong store. Think fast. Brandon shouted, pointing at them with the enthusiasm of a TV salesman at 3 a.m. Opportunities like this don't last. Tomorrow it might be sold, or become a collector's item, or go to a museum. Cars like this go to museums. The door closed. The showroom was empty. Sabrina crossed her arms. She counted to 5 this time. You scared away the 4th couple this week. They weren't ready to invest. Brandon adjusted his tie knot in the windshield's reflection. He checked his hair. He smiled at his own reflection. People like that don't understand long-term vision. People like that understand you don't know the difference between liquidity and a giraffe. Technical details. Details that sell, Brandon. He ignored it. He walked among the cars like a general inspecting troops that existed only in his head. He ran his hand over the hood of a black SUV. He checked his own reflection again, because 30 seconds was too long without confirming his hair was still in place. Look at this, Sabrina. This is success. My name on the storefront. My brand. My empire. She looked around. She counted mentally. 12 cars. Half of them sitting there for more than 6 months. She knew because one of them had a layer of dust on the dashboard that looked like a science experiment. 3 employees. One of them browsing on his phone. Another eating a tuna sandwich that smelled like regret. The 3rd one, Jerry, 62 years old, 37 years of experience, fixing the coffee machine in the back with the patience of a retired Buddha. Your empire, Sabrina repeated, without emotion, like someone reading medicine instructions. Brandon didn't catch the irony. He never did. Exactly. I built this from scratch, alone, with these hands. He raised his hands, manicured nails, perfect cuticles. Jerry back there raised an eyebrow. He didn't say anything. But his look said, alone, sure. If you don't count Uncle's money, the 3 loans, and the ghost investor who pays your bills. Flashback. Because every empire has an origin and every bluff has a receipt. 15 years ago, Brandon inherited the shop from Uncle Mario. Small. 3 used cars. An office that smelled like mold, reheated coffee, and dreams abandoned in the 90s. 10 years ago, he expanded, got a bank loan, renovated, put his name on the storefront in letters that cost more than 2 cars. 8 years ago, the loan became a problem. The kind of problem that calls on Saturday morning asking when you're going to pay. 6 years ago, he sold 30% to an anonymous investor who never showed up in person, just a signature on a contract and bank transfer that saved the month. 4 years ago, he sold another 40%, because expansion costs money and pride costs even more. 2 years ago, another 20%, because the storefront renovation wasn't going to pay for itself. Today, Brandon owned 10%, 10% of his own name on the storefront, 10% of the gold letters, 10% of the empire he swore he built alone. The rest, it belonged to the ghost, the mysterious investor who paid the bills, who covered the holes, who kept the lights on and the cars in the showroom when rent was late. Brandon had never seen his face. He just signed papers, received transfers, and kept pretending he was king of a castle that wasn't his. Jerry knew, because Jerry filed the contracts. Sabrina suspected, because Sabrina wasn't stupid. But nobody talked, because the illusion paid the rent, and silence paid the salary. Outside, Ethan watched through the glass. He saw Brandon gesturing like a motivational speaker who just discovered caffeine. He saw Sabrina roll her eyes with the subtlety of someone who had given up pretending to have patience. He saw Jerry fix the coffee machine with the resignation of someone who had already accepted that this is just life. Ethan's phone buzzed. Message from his assistant. Mansion confirmed for the event. Rental authorized under anonymous organizer. They think it's a local sponsor with money to spare. Ethan typed his response. Perfect. Keep my name off any documents. Another message. Brandon still doesn't know you own 90% of his shop. Ethan looked at the showroom, at the man who pushed him in the school hallway 17 times. He counted. Who laughed when Sabrina let go of his hand at prom in front of 83 people. Who posted a photo 3 years ago with the caption, "Kings build empires, losers disappear, and nobody misses them." He typed slowly, each word chosen carefully. He'll know, at the right time, in front of everyone, inside my house. He put away his phone. He stayed another minute watching. Brandon took out his phone. He posed next to the red convertible. Sabrina got in the frame, because a girlfriend is a mandatory accessory in success photos. He put his arm around her. Perfect smiles, perfect couple, perfect life. Everything perfect, except the truth. Click. The photo went straight to YouTube Shorts before Sabrina even had time to check if she looked good. Caption. Another day, another deal closed. Hard work pays off. Success isn't luck, it's sweat. Luxury life, self-made, CEO, entrepreneur, winning isn't luck. Ethan read the caption on his own phone screen because he had been following Brandon's account for years, always invisible, always watching, always remembering, self-made, made by himself, with 90% of someone else's money. Ethan almost laughed, but it wasn't anger he felt. It wasn't a desire for cruel revenge like in mafia movies. It was something stranger, lighter. It was the feeling of finally being able to look back at the past without cringing, of being on the other side of the window, of owning everything without anyone knowing, of having turned the joke into a joke about the other person. 15 years ago, they laughed at him at the door of a salon while he looked at Sabrina who had deceived him. Now, they were going to toast the past inside his house, and they were still going to call it Mansion Rented by Generous Sponsor. Ethan started the car. He looked one last time at the showroom. The golden letters gleamed under the afternoon sun. Brandon Luxury Motors. 10% real ownership, 90% illusion with signed contract, and 100% dependent on the man he had never seen. On the man he pushed in the hallway. On the man he called a loser. On the man who now paid his bills without him knowing. Ethan smiled, not out of malice, but like someone who finally understood the joke. and still hadn't told anyone the ending. But he was going to tell, at the right time, in front of everyone, inside the mansion itself. With champagne glass in hand and Brandon toasting without knowing he was celebrating his own defeat. He stepped on the gas and left the fake empire behind, for now. Because in 3 days, everyone was going to be inside his house, including the waitress who wouldn't stop talking, including Brandon and his installment plan suit, including Sabrina and her tired smile. And nobody, absolutely nobody, was going to know who owned the party until Ethan decided to tell. And when he told, it was going to be epic or disastrous, probably both, but definitely unforgettable. Brandon's smile was still echoing in Emma's head when she got home. That smile of someone who sold illusion as easily as breathing. She shook her head, trying to shake off the image. She had more important things to deal with, like 37 pills scattered on the coffee table. The medicine box had more colors than Emma's life in the last 10 years. Blue, white, yellow. A pharmaceutical rainbow that she organized every Sunday at 7 in the evening, because routine was the only thing that kept that house running. Emma counted again, separated by person with the precision of a pharmacist she never was. Dad, 6 pills. 3 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 1 before bed. Mom, 4. 2 at breakfast, 2 at dinner. Herself, 0. But her back was starting to charge interest on that account. How many today? Dad asked from the armchair, eyes glued to the news that repeated the same tragedies with different words. 6 for you, 4 for Mom, 2 for the electric bill, 1 for gas, 3 for the credit card I swore I'd pay last month. Didn't know medicine paid bills. It doesn't. But since I'm counting things that give me headaches, I included everything on the list. Dad almost smiled. Almost. The corner of his mouth moved like a hesitant comma. Emma put the pills in the containers organized by day of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Each day a repetition of the previous one, with small variations of pain and tiredness. Mom entered the living room with a teacup in her hands. Stopped, observed the table, observed Emma. Did you keep the doctor's papers? I kept them. Where? In the pile of important things I've been promising to organize since 2015. Emma, Mom, everything is kept. I know where everything is, more or less, technically, if I have time to look and a detailed map. Mom sighed, sat on the sofa, took a sip of tea that must have already been cold. You need to rest more. I rest. Working 10 hours a day and then taking care of us isn't resting. It's productive rest. There's no such thing as productive rest, honey. There is. It's called sleeping with the mental list of things I didn't do today and will try to do tomorrow. It's like meditation, but with anxiety. Dad made a sound that could be laughter or coughing. Emma bet on coughing. She finished organizing the medicine, picked up the pile of bills, 3 envelopes, 2 notices on pink paper, the universal color of you're in trouble. 1 note stuck to the refrigerator in her own handwriting. Pay this before they cut off the power. She wrote that 3 weeks ago. The power was still working. For now. She sat in the kitchen chair, opened the phone bill envelope, read the amount, closed her eyes hard enough to see little stars. $37, she murmured to the empty coffee cup on the table. I know you don't have an opinion about personal finances, but if you did, I'd appreciate emotional support, or money. Money would be great. The cup didn't respond. Of course not, Emma thought. The only thing in my life that doesn't charge me anything is literally an inanimate object. He grabbed the calculator, added, subtracted, divided the week's salary by 7, multiplied the average tip by 5, subtracted gas, subtracted food, subtracted the medicine that insurance didn't cover because it wasn't essential, according to someone who never needed it. $22 left. Perfect. I'll pay the phone bill with $22 and a letter explaining that the other 15 are trapped in an alternate dimension called insufficient salary. She put the bill aside, opened the second one. Gas, $41. Sure, because gas has to be more expensive than the phone. Makes perfect sense. We don't even call anyone, but cooking? Ridiculous luxury. Third envelope, credit card. She didn't even open it. Put it straight in the, I'm going to pretend I didn't see this until Monday, or until the universe implodes, whichever comes first pile. Got up to get water, tripped over her own backpack lying on the floor. The backpack fell like a tragic domino, spilled everything. Notebooks, pens, crumpled napkins, receipts she swore she was going to organize, a lipstick she bought on sale and never used because special occasion became an abstract concept. An old photo folded in half. Emma picked up the photo, took a deep breath. It was from prom, 15 years ago. Her in a blue dress that her mother sewed for 5 straight nights. Huge smile. Hair held up with a clip that fell exactly 3 times during the night. She counted. Next to her, 2 friends she didn't talk to anymore. One moved to California. The other got married and disappeared into her own life. In the back, in the corner of the photo, almost out of frame, a skinny boy, alone near the punch table. Emma frowned. She vaguely remembered him. Shy kid, quiet, disappeared after prom. Nobody knew where. Nobody asked. She almost went to talk to him that night. Almost offered punch. Almost asked if he was okay. But Brandon made a loud joke about losers who come alone, and she laughed along because she was 17 and didn't know that silence was also a choice. Emma put the photo back in her backpack. She didn't know why she still carried that thing. Maybe because it was proof that she used to be someone else, someone with an open future, with plans bigger than the town. With a ticket bought to get out of that trap disguised as home, she went to the bedroom, opened the closet. In the back, under 3 blankets she never used, there was a faded shoebox. She hesitated, then opened it. Inside, old notebooks, essays with A+ grades in proud red ink, school assignments that teachers praised, a certificate of honorable mention in a writing contest, and folded with excessive care, a letter. Emma unfolded it. Read the first line. Congratulations. It is with great pleasure that we inform you of your acceptance to the university. She didn't read the rest. Never read the rest. Because the rest hurt like an emotional punch in slow motion. The letter was 15 years old. The deadline to respond had expired 3 months after she received it. She called, asked for an extension, explained the situation. Sick father, mother needing help, no money for housing, food, basic existence. They were polite, said they understood, offered a partial scholarship. Partial didn't pay for food, didn't pay for medicine, didn't pay for the electric bill she had just sworn she was going to pay. Emma put the letter away, closed the box, pushed it back to the back of the closet, covered it with the blankets like a symbolic burial, and stood still for 5 whole seconds, personal emotional record, before going back to the kitchen. Her mother was washing the cup with slow, tired movements. Did you find what you needed? I did. Line number 47 of the month. Emma was counting, because what she needed was buried in a box, along with the version of herself that could have left. The cell phone vibrated on the table like a silent fire alarm. Emma picked it up. Notification. Reminder, 15-year reunion, Saturday, 7 p.m., address 428 Hillcrest Drive. She read the address twice. Hillcrest Drive, the street with the mansions. Of course, she muttered, because a school reunion obviously needs to be in a mansion. Can't be in the gym, can't be at the diner, has to be in the place where everyone can measure exactly how much money they don't have. She threw the cell phone on the table with more force than necessary. Her mother looked over her shoulder. School reunion? Yeah, I'll wear my evening gown. The one I don't have. It matches perfectly with my imported car that I also don't have. You should go. I should pay the electric bill, Mom. Priorities. Emma. Mom, I don't have clothes. I don't have money for a gift. I don't have patience to listen to Brandon talk about cars he can barely sell. You have yourself, and that's already more than half of those people. Emma didn't respond, because her mother was right, and that hurt more than the letter stored in the closet. She picked up the empty coffee cup, looked into the bottom like a modern oracle. Was I important back then? She asked the cup. Or did I just think I was? The cup, as always, didn't answer, but Emma could swear it was judging her. Outside, the town stayed small, the bills stayed big, and the box in the closet stayed closed. For now. Because Emma didn't know yet. Didn't know that the letter she kept had been read by someone else. Didn't know that someone had paid her bills for 6 months without her knowing. Didn't know that the mansion at the reunion address belonged to the shy boy in the photo. She thought she hadn't been important back then. She was about to find out she had been more than she imagined, but not yet. Not yet. For now, she just put away her phone, finished organizing the medicine, and promised herself she would decide about the reunion later. After paying the electric bill. After surviving another week, after stopping looking at the box in the closet like it held the entire life Emma never lived, her mother turned off the faucet, dried her hands on the flowered dish towel that was 20 years old, and looked at her daughter with that look only mothers have, half pride, half pain from seeing someone you love trapped in an invisible cage. "You deserve more than this place," she said quietly. Emma smiled. Tired, but she smiled. "Deserving and getting are two different things, Mom, like wanting and having, or dreaming and waking up." "Sometimes," her mother replied, "we just need someone to remind us what we deserve." And she left the kitchen, leaving Emma alone, with the empty cup, with the pile of bills, with the stored box, and with the strange feeling that something was about to change. She just didn't know what, yet. But the next morning, when she pushed the diner door for another shift, the bell rang, and a man walked in right behind her. Quiet suit, strange posture, a look that seemed to know her from somewhere. Emma turned, automatic smile already on her face. "Good morning, sit anywhere, I'll be right." She stopped, because there was something about that face, something familiar. But before she could process it, the manager shouted from the kitchen, "Emma, table 6 has been waiting for 10 minutes. She blinked, looked at the man, looked at table 6. "Sorry, I'll be right back." And she ran off, without knowing that the man in the quiet suit had rehearsed 17 times what he was going to say, without knowing he was the boy in the photo, without knowing he was about to change everything. Emma was still looking at the pile of bills when her phone buzzed. Message from the manager, "Shift tomorrow 7 a.m. Don't be late." She sighed, put away the envelopes, and got up from the couch. Another day, another chance to pretend everything was fine. Ethan rehearsed the sentence 17 times on the way. "Emma, we went to school together. I'm Ethan from your class. Simple, direct, impossible to mess up. Except you already messed this up 3 times, he thought. But who's counting?" He pushed the diner door. The bell rang. Emma turned, automatic smile already on her face, and he forgot all 17 versions. "You again," she said, balancing 3 plates on her left arm and a coffee pot in her right hand. "Sit anywhere, I'll be right there. I just need to deliver this before physics decides I can't carry the weight of 3 burgers, 2 fries, and the expectation of at least 15% tip all at the same time." Ethan sat at the same booth as always, near the window, away from the traffic, perfect spot for serious conversation. Conversation he was going to have. Today. For sure. "You said that yesterday," his brain commented, helpfully. Emma came back 143 seconds later. He counted, notepad in hand, pen behind her ear, apron stained with something that could be ketchup or evidence of culinary crime. "Coffee?" she asked. "Please." "Strong or weak? Because strong here is rocket fuel. Weak is water with distant memory of coffee." "Strong, man of courage. I like that." She wrote it down. "Food? Emma, I need to talk to you." "Sure, but talk while I write this down, because if I forget your order, the manager will launch me into space. Not literally. But he'll make that face of deep disappointment that hurts more than getting fired." Ethan took a deep breath. Attempt number 1. "Emma, we went to the same class. Really?" She almost dropped the notepad. "Wait, same class like same year or same classroom with desks stuck together?" "Same classroom. Riverside High? Class of 2009? Exactly." Emma frowned, bit her lip, looked at him like she was trying to solve a quantum physics equation. "I can't believe I don't remember you." She made a genuinely guilty face. "But don't take it personally, okay? My brain deleted half of high school to make room for bank passwords, apple pie recipes, and all the capitals of Europe. Priorities, you know." "I understand. What was your name again?" His heart raced. "Ethan." She repeated the name, slowly, like she was testing the sound. "Ethan." 5-second pause. "Ethan." Longer pause. "No, sorry, I can't remember, but I swear it's not because you weren't important. It's because I'm terrible with faces. Last week I greeted my own reflection thinking it was a customer and asked what he wanted to order." Ethan almost laughed. Almost. Because the pain was strange. She didn't remember. But she also didn't pretend to remember. And that, in some twisted way, was better than a polite lie. "It's okay," he said. "It's been a while. It's been a long while. 15 years is like a complete geological era in human memory years." She wrote something on her pad. "So you're in town for the reunion?" "I am. I'm going too. Maybe, I think, if I can find clothes that don't look like I just got off a double shift at the diner. She laughed, which is funny because I did just get off a double shift at the diner exactly 40 minutes ago. Ethan smiled. She was like he remembered, just more tired, more real, more incredible. Emma scribbled something else on her pad. Do you remember prom? His stomach dropped 7 floors. I remember. What a historical tragedy that dress I wore was, my God. She covered her face with her free hand. My mom sewed it, with dedication, a lot of dedication. But dedication doesn't teach professional sewing. It looked like I had fought with a roll of blue tulle and lost badly. I thought it was pretty. Emma stopped, looked at him. You remember my dress? Shoot, Ethan thought. You just gave yourself away completely. I remember several things from that night. Like what? He hesitated. Attempt number 2. At prom, Don't talk to me about prom, Emma interrupted dramatically. That night was a sequence of 8 questionable decisions. I danced in shoes 3 sizes too small for my feet. I ate punch that had clearly been contaminated with something suspicious. And I spent the entire night trying not to trip over my own dress. She paused, looked out the window. Her voice became softer. There was a boy that night, she began. He was alone, near the punch table. I almost went to talk to him, almost offered to dance. But then, I don't know, I was 17. Everyone was 17, and he disappeared after. Nobody knows where. Silence. Ethan couldn't breathe properly. Emma continued, still looking out the window. I always wondered if he was okay, if someone was nice to him, if... She shook her head. Sorry, that got weird. I have a habit of talking too much when I get nervous. You're nervous? Always. She laughed, but it was an awkward laugh. It's my natural state, anxious with a touch of caffeine and debt. Ethan wanted to scream. He wanted to say, it was me. The boy was me. You almost talked to me. I waited all night, and when you looked in my direction, I thought that, but he said nothing. Because Emma had already turned around, was already taking another table's order, had already returned to efficient waitress mode that pretended she wasn't carrying invisible weight. He sat there, looking at the cup of coffee she brought without him noticing. Strong coffee. Like he ordered. Like she remembered, even without remembering him. The manager shouted something from the kitchen. Emma responded with a quick joke about unintentional fires. Another customer asked for the check. She delivered it with a tired smile. And Ethan realized. She didn't remember his face, but she remembered the boy alone. Remembered almost doing something. Remembered not having done it, and carried that. The same way he carried the memory of her in the hallway, defending someone nobody else defended. Emma came back to his table. Sorry for the delay. Did you decide what you're going to eat, or are you still processing my existential crisis about prom? Can I have pancakes? You can have whatever you want. Here we serve food and free emotional therapy, sometimes in the wrong order. She wrote it down, put the pad in her apron pocket, but didn't leave, stood there, looking at him. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you come back? Ethan blinked. What do you mean? To town, to the reunion. After 15 years, why come back? He could lie, he could make up an excuse about business, about curiosity, about anything that wasn't the truth. But he looked into her eyes and decided to be honest, at least about this, because I needed to see if some things were the way I remembered them. And are they? Some are better, Emma smiled, small, but real. What a strangely beautiful answer. She lightly tapped the table with her notepad. Pancakes coming up. Don't run away. She left, and Ethan was alone again, with the strong coffee, with the decision not made, with the revelation swallowed, but also with something new, something he didn't expect. The certainty that she cared, 15 years ago, at the dance, with the boy that nobody saw. She saw, and almost did something, almost, and almost was more than he had before. Emma came back 10 minutes later with the messiest stack of pancakes he'd ever seen. 3 pancakes stacked at impossible angles, syrup dripping down the sides, butter melting in golden puddles, but smelling like perfection. Sorry about the presentation. The kitchen's in controlled chaos mode today. It's perfect. Liar, she smiled. But thanks. She was about to leave again, but stopped, turned around. Ethan? Yeah? If you remember anything else from high school, tell me. I swear my memory is terrible, but I like hearing stories, especially the ones I don't remember living. He nodded. She left, And Ethan stared at the pancakes. You're going to tell her, he thought, at the reunion, in front of everyone, not as revenge, but as truth. Because she deserved to know that the boy she almost helped never forgot. And that Brandon, the guy who made that dance hell, was going to find out that some people don't stay small just because you want them to. Ethan cut a piece of pancake. The doorbell rang. And when he looked up, he saw someone he hadn't seen in 15 years. Someone he definitely didn't want to see today. Brandon Steele had just walked into the diner. Ethan's heart beat fast. Emma waited, pen suspended in the air. He opened his mouth to say the name. And the doorbell rang with that annoying metallic sound that seemed designed to destroy important moments. Brandon Steele had just walked in, Sabrina hanging on his arm like an expensive purse at a fashion show. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. 15 years hadn't changed much. Brandon still had that smile of someone who never heard the word no in his life. Sabrina still wore heels too high for a roadside diner, and both still walked into any place like Google Maps had been programmed specifically to guide them there. Emma turned her head, saw who walked in, and Ethan noticed when her smile got exactly 2 millimeters tighter. Sorry, she said to Ethan, putting away her notepad. I'll be right back. Table 4 just got occupied by walking nostalgia. She took a deep breath, straightened her stained apron, and walked to the table with that posture of someone who had already decided she was going to survive the shift, even if it was based on pure stubbornness and 3 liters of coffee. Brandon chose the table right in the center. Maximum visibility. He pulled out the chair for Sabrina with that exaggerated gesture of performative chivalry that looked more like a rehearsed scene. Honey, are you sure you want to eat here? Sabrina asked, looking around as if she were inspecting a crime scene. This place smells like old oil and postponed dreams. Relax, dear. Brandon sat down, adjusting his watch that probably cost more than Emma's car. It's nostalgic, reminds me of the old days, when we were young and the city was less decadent. Emma stopped in front of the table. Good afternoon, welcome to Rosie's Diner. Can I start you with something to drink? Brandon looked at her. Took 3 full seconds, as if he were running outdated facial recognition software. Emma? He said, with that tone of fake surprise that rich people use when they want to seem humble. Emma Carter? Wow, how long has it been? 15 years, Emma replied. Approximately 780 weeks. But who's counting? You work here? No, I just wear ketchup-stained aprons as a fashion statement. She smiled, but it was a sharp smile. Yes, Brandon, I work here. Sabrina tilted her head, analyzing Emma from head to toe as if she were evaluating artwork in a questionable museum. How cute, Sabrina said, with that sugary tone that hid arsenic. You must be so dedicated. I admire people who work with their hands. It's so authentic. Emma blinked. Was that a compliment, or did she just call me primitive? Think. So, drinks? Coffee, Brandon said. But only if it's real coffee, not that watered-down stuff you usually serve. Emma wrote in her notepad. Strong coffee. Got it. I'll ask the chef to personally do the extraction, with his hands. Very authentic. Sabrina made a disgusted face. Water, with ice and lemon, but only if the lemon is fresh. I'm allergic to old lemons. Emma stopped writing, looked at Sabrina. Allergic to old lemons. Yes, like lemons have an emotional expiration date. I can feel when it's not fresh. Got it. Emma wrote slowly. Lemon with birth certificate. I'll let the kitchen know. Sabrina frowned, not sure if she was being teased. Brandon leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. So, Emma, are you going to the class reunion? I am. That's great. We are too. He smiled. It'll be nostalgic, seeing everyone, seeing how life treated each person. Pause. He looked around the diner. Some better than others, of course. Emma stopped writing, looked at him. And Ethan saw when something changed in her face. It wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness. It was something worse. It was tiredness. Tiredness of being treated as invisible, as less, as someone life forgot to promote. But she didn't explode, didn't curse, didn't throw the notepad in his face. She just smiled and said with a calm and deadly voice, That's true, Brandon. Life treats everyone differently. Some people build real things, others just inherit last names and pretend they built something. Silence. Brandon blinked. Sabrina opened her mouth. Emma continued, still smiling. But here we don't judge. We serve food, not participation trophies. She tapped the notepad lightly with her pen. Do you want something to eat, or did you just come for the nostalgia tour? Brandon tried to laugh. Forced, as if everything was a joke. You were always funny, Emma, always with those quick comebacks. He picked up the menu. I'll have the burger, the special, with fries, and make it good, okay? My store works with marginal profit margins, so I know how to recognize quality when I see it. Emma stopped, looked at him. Marginal profit margins? That's right. She bit her lip, clearly holding back laughter. Right? Marginal margins. I'll write that down here with an asterisk. Why? Because marginal margins is like saying profitable profit, redundancy squared. Brandon turned red. I know what you meant. Emma turned to Sabrina. And you, ma'am? Salad. No dressing, no cheese, no croutons, just lettuce. So, lettuce. Salad. Of lettuce. Yes. Emma wrote it down. Conceptual salad. Understood. She turned to leave, but Brandon spoke again. Emma? She stopped, didn't turn around. It's good to see you're still around, in town, true to your roots. He paused. Some people run away, but you stayed. That's admirable. Emma turned slowly, and Ethan saw when she decided she wasn't going to hold back anymore. You know, Brandon, she began, voice still polite, but with a sharp edge underneath. There's a difference between staying because you want to and staying because you have responsibility. Some people need an audience to remember they exist. Others build quiet lives and don't need external validation. She took a step forward. Here we serve food, not applause. If you want both, I recommend hiring a catered party with a clown, especially since you already brought Sabrina. And she left, leaving Brandon red-faced. Sabrina speechless, and Ethan completely in love. Brandon tried to recover his composure. He grabbed the glass of water that was already on the table, took a quick sip and choked, coughed, spit the water back into the glass. Sabrina patted his back dramatically. Honey, are you okay? I'm fine, he said, voice hoarse. Just went down wrong. Emma passed by the table at that exact moment, carrying a tray with orders for another table. She looked at Brandon, at the glass, at his red face, and said without stopping, water can be tricky. You have to drink it slowly, just like marginal profit margins. And kept walking. Ethan covered his mouth with his hand, trying not to laugh too loud. Brandon wiped his mouth with a napkin. Sabrina fixed her hair, embarrassed. And they both sat in silence, looking at the menu as if it were a 40-page contract. Emma returned to the counter, handed the notepad to the manager. He read it, made a face like he didn't want to get involved, but Ethan saw when he gave a little smile. He liked the response too. Emma leaned against the counter, took a deep breath, and picked up the coffee cup she always kept there, hidden behind the cash register, took a sip, looked at the cup, and murmured, quietly, Did you see that? I survived, especially without throwing ketchup at him. It tempted me, but I resisted. Because yes, she talked to the cup, and no, she didn't think it was strange. Ethan closed his laptop, got up and walked to the counter. Emma saw him approaching, straightened her posture, put away the cup, went back to professional mode. Hi, sorry for the delay. Do you need anything else? No. Ethan stopped in front of her. I just wanted to say you were incredible. Emma blinked. What do you mean? At table 4, the way you responded, he smiled. It was perfect. She turned red. Oh, you heard that? I did. Was I being rude? You were being honest. I didn't. Emma let out her breath. I tried to be polite, I swear, but there's a limit, you know? There comes a time when someone pushes so much that you need to remind them the floor belongs to everyone. He reminded her. I did? That the floor belongs to everyone. She smiled, small, but real. Thank you. For what? For not judging me. Some people think waitresses have to swallow everything quietly, smile, accept it, pretend everything's fine. You don't have to pretend anything. Emma looked at him, straight in the eyes, and for the first time Ethan saw something different in her face. It wasn't just tiredness, it wasn't just defensive humor, it was something softer, something like hope. You're strange, she said. In a good way, in the best way. The doorbell rang. Another customer coming in. Emma went back to waitress mode, but before leaving she looked at him again. Ethan? Yeah? Thank you, really, for being here, for listening to me, for not laughing at me. I would never laugh at you. Not even when I talked to cups? Ethan blinked. You knew I saw that? You're not as sneaky as you think, she smiled. But that's okay. The cup is a good listener, Better than 90% of the people I know. And she left. Ethan stood there at the counter, watching her serve the next table, smiling at the next customer, turning disaster into jokes, carrying invisible weight with grace. And he decided, at the reunion, when Brandon laughs, when Sabrina makes nasty comments, when everyone looks at Emma like she's less, he'll be beside her, not behind, not watching from far away, beside her. And this time, when they laugh, she won't be alone serving tables. She'll be with him, and nobody will be laughing for very long, especially because he still hasn't told her who he really is. And when he does, well, he just hopes she doesn't throw ketchup at him. Emma could still feel the tension from table 4 stuck to her skin like old grease. Brandon and Sabrina had left 23 minutes ago. She counted every one, but the smell of Sabrina's expensive perfume still hung in the air like an unwanted reminder. She was at the counter, drying cups with the same concentration of someone diffusing a time bomb. 17 cups. They were already dry. But she kept wiping them because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant reliving the conversation. "You work here?" Like it was a crime. The doorbell rang. Ethan walked in. Emma looked up, and for the first time all day, she felt her shoulders relax 2 inches. "Hi!" She put the 18th cup on the counter. "You want more coffee? Or are you finally going to order real food? Because I swear, if you live on just coffee, you're going to become one of those people who vibrate at a different frequency than the rest of humanity. Like dogs that hear ultrasound." Ethan walked to the counter, stopped, put his hand in his coat pocket, and stayed quiet for 3 whole seconds. Emma blinked. "Are you okay? Need to sit down? Because if you're having an existential crisis, I can bring water, or coffee, or both at the same time, which is basically my solution for everything." "Emma? Yeah? I have 2 invitations to our class reunion." He pulled the envelopes from his pocket. Cream paper, gold border. Too fancy for Riverside. "I wanted you to go with me." Silence. Emma blinked, looked at the invitations, at him, at the invitations again, and started laughing. It wasn't mocking laughter. It was nervous laughter. The kind that escapes when the brain simply gives up processing information and delegates everything to the emergency system. "You're kidding, right?" She put the cup on the counter before dropping it. "Like, this is a prank? Are there hidden cameras? Because if there are, I need to know now before I make a fool of myself and become a meme." "It's not a prank, Ethan." She crossed her arms, uncrossed them, crossed them again. "You want me to go with you to the 15-year reunion?" "Yes, me, Emma Carter, waitress, stained apron, hair always escaping from the ponytail like a prisoner on the run." "You. To the reunion, where there'll be people I haven't seen in a decade and a half. People who probably don't even remember I exist. People who confuse me with the other Emma, the one who went to medical school and became a surgeon. They remember you." Emma let out her breath, ran her hand over her face, and started talking, fast. Very fast. "Ethan, this is kind, really. I was even touched for about 4 seconds, but I can't. I don't have clothes. I don't have proper shoes. I don't have bone structure prepared to handle high heels all night long. And besides, I work that day, and my parents need me. And I don't know how to dance. Never learned. At the school dance, I spent 6 straight hours serving punch because it was safer than risking stepping on someone's foot and turning it into a lawsuit." Ethan waited. She continued. "And picture the scene. Me showing up there. Everyone in imported dresses. Me in, I don't know, the same jeans I've been wearing since 2019. Brandon's gonna laugh. Sabrina's gonna make one of those poisonous comments disguised as a compliment, like, 'Wow, how brave, I'd never have the courage to wear that in public.' And I'm gonna want to teleport to another dimension. But I won't be able to because I'll be stuck in polite conversation about how life has been generous to everyone except me." Pause to breathe. "So thank you, from the heart. But I can't." Ethan placed the invitations on the counter, right in front of her. Cream paper against faded formica. "I understand," he said, voice calm. "But I didn't invite you out of pity or out of politeness. I invited you because I want you to be there, with me." Emma looked at him, and for the first time in 15 years, she was speechless, for exactly 5 seconds. Then her brain started working again, and she spoke up. "But why? You barely know me. We've talked like 7 times? 8 if you count that time you asked for sugar and I brought salt by mistake. You have to have someone better to take. Someone who doesn't spill coffee on herself 4 times per shift. I don't want to take someone better. Ethan leaned slightly on the counter. I want to take you. Her heart did that strange thing. That irregular beat she pretended not to feel. He's just being nice, she thought. That's all. Foreign investor kindness who doesn't understand how small-town social hierarchies work. Ethan, you don't need new clothes, you don't need high heels, you don't need to be anyone other than who you already are. But I'm a waitress. And I'm an investor, he smiled sideways. We're going to be the strangest pair at the party. It's going to be perfect. Emma bit her lip, looked at the invitations, at him, at the cup she had just dried for the 3rd time. What about my parents? I can help with that. How? I can hire someone to stay with them that night. Someone trustworthy. A nurse. Whatever you need. Emma shook her head. No, I can't accept that. A private nurse costs like $200 a night, and I don't even know if they'll accept a stranger in the house. My dad has this thing about not liking new people touching his stuff. Ben will ask. Ethan didn't look away, but at least let me try to help. She stayed quiet, thinking, calculating in her head how much a nurse would cost for one night, how many extra shifts she'd have to work to pay it back. If it was worth risking leaving the safe routine for one night, that would probably end in public embarrassment. But then she remembered that phrase he had said days ago. You deserve more than leftovers. And something inside her gave way. Okay, she said, voice low. I'll go. Ethan smiled. It wasn't a polite smile, it was the smile of someone who had just won something important. Really? Really? Emma picked up her coffee cup, the one that always stayed hidden behind the cash register. But if I embarrass myself, it's your fault. I accept responsibility. She brought the cup to her mouth, took a sip, and spilled coffee on her own hand. Ow. Darn. Ethan grabbed 3 napkins from the napkin holder, extended them to her. Emma cleaned her hand, red from embarrassment and from the burn. Even the coffee is in shock at my decision, she mumbled. Are you okay? I'm fine, just burned myself. Nothing serious, worse has happened. Like that time I spilled boiling soup on my foot and limped for a week. Or when ketchup exploded in my face in front of 12 customers. Or when, Emma, what? Breathe. She stopped, took a deep breath, and let the air out slowly. Sorry, I talk too much when I get nervous. It's like verbal diarrhea. What a horrible expression. Forget I said that. I know, Ethan smiled. It's part of it. Emma put the napkin in her apron pocket, looked at the invitations still on the counter, and picked up one of them carefully as if it were something fragile. So, we're really going to do this? We are. I'm going to need clothes. I can help with that too. No, she shook her head firmly. I'll handle the clothes. I have a friend who works at a thrift store. She owes me a favor since that time I covered her shift when her boyfriend proposed in the Walmart parking lot. Romance? Old-fashioned style. He got down on one knee between an abandoned cart and a puddle of soda. Ethan laughed, quietly, but it was genuine laughter. Emma put the invitation in her pocket, tapped lightly on the counter with her fingers, and looked at him with that expression of someone who still doesn't totally believe what they just agreed to. Ethan? Yes? Why are you doing this? Like, really though? He stayed quiet for a moment, thinking about the answer, about the story he still couldn't tell, about the secret that weighed more each day. But then he said with all the sincerity he could gather, because you deserve to be there, not serving, not hiding, you deserve to be at the center, and I want to be by your side when that happens. Emma blinked, swallowed hard, and for the first time in a long time she didn't have a ready joke. She just felt her heart beat faster. And that strange feeling that maybe, just maybe, someone finally truly saw her. The door chime rang. Customer coming in. Emma went back to professional mode. But before leaving, she looked at him one more time. Thank you, she said, quietly. But he heard, and she left to serve the next table. Ethan stayed at the counter, looking at the invitation that was still there, his. He put it in his pocket and left the diner with a certainty growing in his chest. At the reunion, when Brandon laughs, when Sabrina makes a cruel comment, when everyone looks at Emma like she doesn't belong in that place, he'll be by her side, and he'll show everyone that she always belonged, more than any of them. On the other side of town, in a mansion that most people called rented party house, Ethan parked the car, turned off the engine, and looked at the huge building in front of him. They called it a rented mansion. To him, it was just home. The house he bought 5 years ago. When he returned to Riverside for the first time since graduation, when he decided he was going to stay, that he was going to build something there, that he was going to prove to himself that the boy who was humiliated at the prom didn't define who he became. He went inside. The lights were off. The cleaning crew had already left. Everything was ready for the reunion. Tables, chairs, nostalgic decoration that cost more than half the town's annual salary. And in the center of the main hall, a giant photo. The class of 2009. He walked over there. Stopped in front of the photo, looked for his own face, found it in the corner, hidden behind 3 people, almost invisible. Then he looked for Emma. She was on the other side, also in the corner, also almost invisible. They had both always been there, just never in the same place, until now. Ethan took out his phone, typed a quick message to his personal assistant. Need a private nurse, reliable, available Saturday night, to care for elderly couple. Send 3 best options by tomorrow. Sent it, put away the phone, and looked at the photo one more time. This time, he murmured to the old image, we're not staying in the corners. He turned to leave, and stopped. Because in the reflection of the golden frame, he saw something he hadn't noticed before. In the giant photo, between Emma in the left corner and him in the right corner, there were exactly 47 people. 47 smiling faces. And in the center, right in the middle, Brandon Steele with his arm around Sabrina. Prom king and queen. Ethan smiled, slow, calculated. Not for much longer, he thought. And he left the mansion. But before closing the door, he looked one more time at the empty hall, at the arranged tables, at the perfect decoration, at the stage set up in the back. And he imagined Emma walking in there, not wearing an apron, not serving anyone, but walking beside him, as a guest, as an equal, as someone who always deserved to be there. Emma looked at the dress hanging on the closet door. Simple, navy blue. Nothing that would draw attention, like she always preferred. But this time, for the first time in 15 years, she wouldn't be serving appetizers. She would be sitting at the table, or running for the emergency exit, she thought. 50-50. Her heart did that strange thing again, that uneven beat that she pretended not to feel. Are you going to stand there staring at the dress, or are you going to put it on? Her mother asked from the bedroom door. Emma turned. Mom, there's still time to cancel, right? I can call Ethan and say I caught a sudden flu, or allergy to reunions, or anything that sounds remotely convincing. Her mother came into the room, picked up the dress, held it out to Emma with that expression that wouldn't accept discussion. You're going, and you're going to have fun, and you're going to stop making excuses. But what about you two? What if Dad needs something? What if? Emma? Her father's voice came from the hallway. He appeared at the door, leaning on his cane. Go, sweetheart. You deserve to be invited too, not just serve. Her chest tightened. She looked at both of them. At her father, who could barely walk without help. At her mother, who pretended she wasn't exhausted 23 hours a day. At the 2 people who held her life together when everything could have fallen apart. And she felt her eyes burn. Are you sure? Absolutely, her father said. And if I need anything, I'll call emergency services, or the neighbor, or your mother, who'll be 3 feet away from me all night. The mother rolled her eyes. He's trying to be funny, but the nurse Ethan hired already arrived. She's having coffee and talking about medication with your father like it's some board meeting. Emma blinked. He hired someone? And she's good, the father confirmed. Professional, competent, didn't treat me like a child. I liked her. Emma held the dress, took a deep breath, and for the first time since accepting the invitation, she let reality truly hit. She was going to that reunion, with Ethan, as a guest, not as the invisible waitress. Go, the mother said more gently, and bring that boy here for dinner sometime. I want to get to know who makes my daughter smile like that. Don't. Emma, I've known you for 33 years. You smile differently when you talk about him. Her face warmed. I don't smile differently. Yes, you do, the father confirmed. You look less tired, more alive. Great, Emma thought. Even my parents turned into romance detectives. All that's missing is the dramatic soundtrack. Emma hugged them both, tight. The way you only hug when words aren't enough, and went to change clothes. 15 minutes later, she was ready. The navy blue dress fit well. Simple, no sparkle, no drama, but clean, decent. And for the first time in months, she didn't feel out of place in her own skin. The shoes were another problem. Low heel, comfortable, but still a heel. The doorbell rang. Emma froze at the top of the stairs. The mother went to answer. Emma heard his voice, calm, polite, thanking them for the reception. She took a deep breath, walked down the steps slowly, holding the handrail like she was crossing a suspension bridge over an active volcano, and stopped at the living room doorway. Ethan was wearing a suit. Dark gray, blue tie, hair neat, but still with that calm expression that made it seem like he never rushed for anything. He looked at her and smiled. It wasn't a polite smile. It was the smile of someone who had just seen something worth waiting for. "You look beautiful," he said. Emma looked down, at the simple dress, at the shoes she borrowed from her friend, at the nails she painted herself the night before and were already chipping on 2 fingers. "I look like myself," she corrected, "just wearing a dress." "Exactly." Her heart did that thing again. The mother cleared her throat. "Are you two going to stand there or get going before traffic gets worse?" Emma grabbed her purse, small, black. Inside it had phone, lipstick she never used, tissues, and 7 mints she kept just in case. "Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad. Call me if you need anything." "Go," the father said, waving his hand, "and don't come back before midnight. Otherwise we'll think you ran away." Ethan opened the car door for her. Emma got in and immediately hit her head on the roof. "Ow, are you okay?" Ethan leaned in, worried. "I'm fine. Just forgot that cars have roofs, and that I have a head, and that physics exists." She settled into the seat, rubbing her forehead. "Promising start." He closed the door, walked around, got in on the other side, started the car, and they began driving. Emma stayed quiet for exactly 42 seconds. Then her brain turned on again and words started coming out. "Did you know I've never been to a class reunion?" Like never. Not the 5-year one, not the 10-year one, because I always thought reunions were for people who had something to show off. You know, look at my amazing career, or look at my perfect marriage, or look how well I aged. And I didn't have any of that, so I just didn't go. Pretended I didn't get the invitation, or that I was working, or that I had family commitments, which was technically true because my parents always needed me, but it was also an excuse because I was afraid to go and realize that everyone moved forward except me. She breathed. Ethan drove, calm, listening. "And there's that thing about, you remember people the way they were in high school. You know, like in my head, Brandon is still that popular guy who walked through the hallways like he owned the place, and Sabrina is still the girl everyone wanted to be friends with, and I'm still the invisible girl nobody noticed unless they needed help with math homework." Pause. "But then you invite me, and I accept, and now I'm here, in the car, going to the reunion. And my brain doesn't know how to process this because I was never the person who got invited. I was always the person who served the people who got invited." Ethan glanced at her. "Do you remember anyone specific from high school?" Emma thought, "I remember everyone, but I don't know if everyone remembers me. There's a difference, you know? I remember because I was watching, because when you're invisible, you see everything. Like, I remember there was this boy, quiet, always alone. He disappeared after graduation. Nobody talked about him anymore. And I always wondered what happened. If he was okay, if he managed to get out of here and build something better." Ethan's jaw tightened. She continued, not noticing. "I was rooting for him, internally, because he seemed, I don't know, lost, the way I felt, and I wanted at least one of us to escape." Ethan gripped the steering wheel. The words rose up his throat, almost came out. "Emma, she sneezed, 3 times in a row. Loud. Ethan stopped talking. "Sorry." Emma grabbed a tissue from her purse. "Allergies. Always hit at the worst possible moment. It's like my body has a sensor for important conversations and decides to sabotage them." Of course, he thought. Even the universe doesn't want me to tell the truth. Ethan took a deep breath. The moment had passed. The truth got stuck again. Emma settled back in her seat, looked out the window, and suddenly got quiet, because they were turning onto a street she knew. The Mansion Street, the street where only rich people lived. "Ethan, is the reunion here?" "Yes." "On this street?" "Yes." "At the mansion?" He didn't answer, just kept driving. The gate appeared in front of them. Big. Iron. With lights along the entire length. Ethan stopped the car, pressed a button on the dashboard. The gate opened, slowly, like in a suspense movie. Emma looked at the lawn, at the lit-up trees, at the fountain in the center of the garden, at the huge house at the end of the driveway. And for the first time since they'd gotten in the car, she was completely silent. Ethan parked, turned off the engine, looked at her. Emma was still staring at the mansion, mouth slightly open, eyes wide. "I shouldn't have come," she murmured. "I don't belong in this place." Ethan got out of the car, walked around, opened her door, extended his hand. Emma looked at his hand, at his face, at the mansion behind him. "Ethan, you belong," he said, firmly, "more than anyone inside there." She swallowed hard, took his hand, and got out of the car. But her heel caught on the car's carpet. Emma stumbled. Ethan caught her, quick, steady. They both stood there, too close, eyes meeting. "Sorry," she whispered. "I warned you that heels and I aren't friends." "I noticed." She laughed, quietly, nervously. He didn't let go of her arm. They both stood there, in the middle of the lit parking area, with music playing softly inside, with voices and laughter spilling through the windows. Emma looked at the front door. Ethan offered his arm. She took it. And they walked together, toward the door, toward the voices, toward the past that never let them go. But this time, neither of them was alone. Emma was still processing her father's words. "You deserve to be invited too, not just serve," when Ethan's car stopped in front of the iron gate. An impressive gate. The kind she only saw from a distance when she passed by on the bus through the mansion street. She never imagined she'd one day enter through the front. The sound hit them first. Loud laughter, soft music, the clinking of crystal glasses. Then came the lights. Chandeliers that Ethan had personally chosen, now illuminating faces he barely recognized. The mansion was unrecognizable, full of people who didn't know they were in his house. Emma got out of the car, looked at the ballroom through the huge windows, at the people in expensive dresses and tailored suits, at the waiters circulating with trays of appetizers that probably cost more than she made in an entire week. 15 years serving these people, she thought, and now I'm going to sit at the table, as if I belonged here. "I shouldn't have come," she murmured. Ethan touched her arm, gently, firmly. "You belong here more than any of them." She looked at him, at his calm eyes, at the expression that wouldn't accept argument, and took a deep breath. "Okay, but if I knock over something valuable, we pretend we're strangers." "Deal." They both went inside. The first person who saw them was Brandon. He crossed the ballroom like he was on a runway. Royal blue suit, a watch that reflected light like a beacon, a smile that took up half his face and overflowed with confidence. "Ethan!" He opened his arms. "So glad you came, and you brought company." He looked at Emma, winked. "Hey, aren't you the waitress from that diner on Main Street?" Her stomach tightened. "I am," she said, firmly, without blinking. "Emma?" "Oh, right, Emma, of course." Brandon snapped his fingers like he just solved a complex puzzle. "Wow, you look different without the apron. Almost didn't recognize you. You look like a different person." Ethan took a step forward, barely noticeable, but he put his body between Brandon and Emma. "The mansion looks amazing," Ethan said, polite tone. "Ice cold, right?" Brandon gestured at the hall like a TV show host. "The committee organized everything. I helped pick the place, of course. I know the owner. Foreign investor, quiet guy, never shows up, but he let us use the house for the reunion." He leaned in, like he was about to reveal a state secret. "Between you and me, his cash flow is flowing well. You can tell by the decoration. Imported chandelier, marble floors, the guy is swimming in liquidity." Emma bit her lip, hard, trying not to laugh. Swimming in liquidity. He just said that with a straight face. Ethan didn't change his expression. "Cash flow flowing. Interesting analysis. Yeah, right? I understand these things. Business, investments, liquid assets versus illiquid assets." Brandon tapped his own chest 3 times. "I have a stake in a car dealership. 10%. But it's a start, you know? Soon I'm going to expand. Open branches in 3 cities. Maybe even buy a mansion like this one. Maybe bigger." "Maybe," Ethan said. Brandon patted his shoulder, hard, like they were childhood friends. "Good to see you, man. Enjoy the party. There's good drinks, good food, real caviar, not that grocery store imitation. And in a little while, we're going to show the video with the old photos. It's going to be so nostalgic." Ready to relive the glory? He walked away, greeting other people, laughing loud, taking over the space like he owned the place. Emma let out the air she'd been holding. Cash flow flowing, she repeated. Quietly. He just invented a new financial expression. Someone needs to tell the Federal Reserve. Ethan looked at her. You almost laughed in his face. I know. It was hard. My brain froze trying to process swimming in liquidity. Is he talking about money or a pool? She looked around, at the former classmates talking in small groups, comparing careers, marriages, children, measurable successes. Everyone here seems so accomplished. Seems, Ethan said, but appearance isn't reality. She looked at him. You think everyone here is pretending? Not everyone, but about 70%. Easy. He pointed discreetly at a man near the window. Gray suit, silk tie. That guy over there went bankrupt last year, lost everything, but he still wears the same Rolex to keep up appearances. He pointed at a woman laughing near the bar. Red dress, pearl necklace. That one got divorced 3 times, but doesn't tell anyone because she thinks marriage is a measure of success. Emma blinked. How do you know all that? Research. You researched our former classmates' lives? No. My assistant researched. He's very efficient. Made a 12-page report with charts. She laughed. For real. The sound came out before she could hold it back. And suddenly, the tightness in her chest loosened a little. A waiter walked by them. Tray full of champagne glasses. Fine crystal. Golden liquid sparkling under the light of the chandeliers. Emma stepped to the side. The waiter turned. Too fast. The tray tilted 45 degrees. Champagne splashed, right on her dress. Oh no, Emma looked at the stain. Wet, shiny, right in the middle of the navy blue fabric. She opened her arms like she was presenting a work of art. Great, instant customization. Champagne tie-dye dress, new style, exclusive. It must be worth at least $300 more now. The waiter froze, pale, eyes wide. I'm so sorry, I didn't see. Relax, it was an accident. I was in the wrong place. Emma took a napkin from his tray. And technically, champagne is an upgrade, right? Now my dress smells like an expensive party, natural French perfume. She started drying the dress. The napkin stuck to the wet fabric. Pieces of paper got stuck. Great, she mumbled. Now I look like a piñata that exploded. Dress decorated with napkin confetti. Very fashionable. Ethan took another napkin. Started helping. Serious. Focused. Like he was solving a complex engineering problem. You don't need to. Wrong angle, he said. You're spreading it. You have to press. Like this. He demonstrated. Press the napkin against the fabric. Gentle. Precise. Emma looked at him. At the man who probably had never dried champagne off clothes in his life. Now crouched next to her. Treating a dress stain like a critical mission. He's drying my dress, she thought. Like it's the most normal thing in the world. Like billionaires do this every day. I spent 15 years serving rich people, she thought, while watching Ethan work. And the only one who treats me like an equal is exactly the richest of them all. The universe has questionable sense of humor. You want to leave? Ethan asked, quietly, just for her to hear. Emma looked at him, at the genuine concern on his face, and felt something strange in her chest. Something warm, something that made her heart beat differently. No, she said, firmly. I'm not going to let champagne kick me out of the party. I've been invisible for too long. Now I'm going to be the girl with the wet dress and pieces of napkin stuck to me. At least it's memorable. 15 years from now, they'll have a reunion and someone will say, remember that girl who looked like a wet Christmas tree? I'm going to make history. Ethan smiled. Small, but real. You're amazing. Her face got warm. I'm stubborn. There's a difference. No, there isn't. They walked through the ballroom, Ethan keeping Emma close, not touching, but close enough so she knew she wasn't alone. Former classmates greeted them. Most didn't recognize Emma. Some looked at her with curiosity. Others didn't even look. But Ethan didn't let her stay out of the conversations. When someone asked about business, he pulled Emma into the conversation. When someone made a comment about the mansion, he looked at her and made observations that only the two of them understood. A woman in a green dress approached. Perfect smile. Teeth that looked like they had been professionally polished. Ethan, it's been so long. Are you still in the tech business? Among other things, he replied. How amazing. I opened a boutique, small, just 4,000 square feet, but it's a start, right? She didn't even look at Emma. You have to check it out. It's on Main Street. Near that old diner. You know which one? I do, Emma said. Clear voice. I work there. The woman blinked, like Emma had just materialized out of nowhere. Oh, how interesting. Emma has managed the place for 15 years, Ethan said. Casual tone. 327 customers per week. 92% return rate. Impressive numbers in any business. The woman opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I didn't know diners had metrics. Every business does, Emma said. Small smile, including 4,000 square foot boutiques. The woman gave a nervous laugh. Yeah, of course. Excuse me. She walked away quickly. Emma looked at Ethan. 327 customers? You just made that number up? No, my assistant calculated it. It's in the report. Page 7. There's a pie chart. She laughed again. And gradually she realized something. She wasn't feeling out of place. She was feeling protected. For the first time at a party full of people, she wasn't alone. The ballroom lights dimmed. A big screen came down on the back wall. Conversations stopped. Brandon stepped onto a small makeshift stage. He grabbed the microphone, tapped it 3 times. The sound echoed through the ballroom. Everyone, listen up. He clapped his hands. It's time for the most anticipated moment of the night, the video with the old photos. Ready to relive high school? Applause, laughter, people moving closer to the screen. Emma felt her stomach churn. Old photos, from high school, from prom, from graduation, from everything she tried to forget. Ethan noticed. He always noticed. He grabbed her hand, quick, discreet, and squeezed. Once. I'm here, he said quietly. But his fingers were trembling, because he knew what was coming. And this time, there was no way to protect either her or himself. The screen lit up. The first photo appeared. Emma held her breath. The past is about to come back, she thought, and this time, there's no way out. She just didn't know that the past coming back wasn't hers. It was his. The first photo was innocent. Graduation, exaggerated smiles, hairstyles that defied gravity. Emma breathed with relief. Maybe the night wouldn't be as uncomfortable as she had imagined. Someone yelled, "Look at Mike's hair." Laughter exploded through the ballroom. The photo showed a boy with enough gel to lubricate an engine. His hair pointed in 6 different directions, like a broken radio antenna. I looked like a porcupine, Mike yelled from the back. My mom said it looked good. Your mom lied, someone replied. Emma relaxed a little. Okay, embarrassing photos of other people. I can handle that. Another photo. Football team. Everyone posing seriously, except one boy in the corner who had blinked right when it was taken. He looked like he was sleeping standing up. Jason, someone yelled. Were you sleeping? I had practiced at 5 in the morning. Jason replied, I was tired. You're still tired today. The whole ballroom laughed. Emma looked at Ethan beside her. He was quiet, watching, but not tense, not yet. Another photo, spring dance, group of girls in dresses that were too shiny. One of them had tripped right when the photo was taken. Her dress had gone up. Her pink panties with yellow polka dots were visible forever, immortalized in HD resolution. Sabrina! Several people shouted at the same time. Sabrina covered her face with her hands. I hate that photo. We love it, someone replied. Emma smiled. Despite the nervousness, if the worst thing about tonight is polka dot underwear, we'll survive, until it wasn't anymore. The music in the video changed. It got slower, softer, piano, strings, the kind of music that plays during sad movie scenes. The next photo appeared. Prom, couples dancing, dim lights, decorations with exactly 347 silver and blue balloons. Emma counted because someone had proudly written the number in the corner of the photo. The room got quieter. Ah, prom, someone murmured. What a night. Emma felt her stomach tighten. Another photo. More couples, smiles, hugs, kisses on cheeks. And then, the photo changed. A boy appeared on the screen. Alone, simple suit, black, crooked tie, hair carefully combed but still wild at the ends. He was holding a bouquet, white roses, 12 to be exact, wrapped in cellophane paper with a blue bow, and he was looking at someone outside the frame. The room fell silent, completely. Emma stopped breathing, because she knew that boy, knew that look, knew that expression of hope mixed with fear. No. The next photo appeared, the boy still holding the bouquet, but now there was a girl next to him. Blonde hair, pink dress, smile that didn't reach her eyes. She was holding his hand, but looking to the side, at someone else. Emma felt something cold run down her spine. Next photo. The girl letting go of his hand, The boy still holding the bouquet, still looking at her, still waiting. "Emma, you can't do anything. It's a photo. From 15 years ago. You weren't there." But her chest tightened as if she were. Next photo. The girl crossing the room toward another boy. Tall, athletic, confident smile. Brandon. Emma recognized him immediately. Even 15 years younger, even without the wrinkles around his eyes, even without the ridiculously expensive watch, it was him. Next photo. The girl kissing Brandon in the middle of the room, in front of everyone. Next photo. The boy in the black suit, alone, bouquet still in his hand but drooping, pointing toward the floor, petals starting to fall, and his face, the face Emma would never forget, because it wasn't just sadness, it wasn't just humiliation. It was the expression of someone who had just realized he wasn't enough, that he never would be. The room was in absolute silence. Nobody was laughing, nobody was commenting, they just watched. The big screen, the frozen photo of the boy alone. Emma turned her head, slowly, looked at Ethan. He was standing next to her, looking at the screen. Neutral expression, but she saw the tight jawline, saw his fingers clenched in fists, saw the same look as the boy in the photo. And suddenly, everything made sense. The invitation, the mansion, the foreign investor disguise, the way he looked at Brandon, the way he looked at her. Everything. He didn't come back to reconnect with friends. He came back to prove something. Her heart raced, not from surprise, not from shock, but from something different. Something warm, something painful. Something that made her chest tighten in a way she'd never felt before. Because she understood everything at once, and didn't know what to do with it. The music in the video continued. Another photo appeared, the boy leaving the room, alone, bouquet thrown in a trash can near the door, petals scattered on the floor, like the trail of something that ended before it began. Emma looked at Ethan again. He still hadn't moved, still hadn't said anything. But she saw the way he swallowed hard, saw the way his shoulders tensed, saw the way he took a deep breath, as if he were preparing for something. And then, without thinking, without planning, without speech or question or hesitation, Emma took his hand, firm, warm, real. Ethan looked down at her hand holding his, then looked at her. Emma said nothing. Didn't say "I'm sorry," didn't say "I understand," didn't say "you didn't deserve that." Because words don't fix photos, but hands can hold what's left. She just held on and stayed next to him. The same way nobody had stayed 15 years ago. His fingers closed around hers, squeezed, once, like silent thanks, like a promise, like recognition that this time he wasn't alone. The screen changed to another photo, graduation, smiles, diplomas. The moment had passed, but her hand was still in his, and he didn't let go. The room lights came on, the video ended, conversations resumed, low, uncomfortable, as if everyone were talking about the weather after witnessing a car accident. Nobody mentioned the prom photos, nobody looked directly at Ethan, but everyone knew. Brandon walked across the hall, smile still on his face, but smaller, forced, like a rubber band stretched too tight. Well, that was nostalgic, right? He laughed, too loud. We were so young, so dramatic, everything seemed like the end of the world. Nobody answered. He cleared his throat. But anyway, we grew up, got over it, moved on. He looked at Ethan, quick, then looked away. And now we have a special surprise. Special surprise. Because the night wasn't awkward enough. The reunion organizer got up on the small stage, grabbed the microphone, smiled, too excited for the mood in the hall. Everyone, attention! He clapped 3 times. We have the honor of having someone special with us tonight. Someone who kindly let us use this incredible mansion for our reunion. Murmurs around the hall, people shifting. Curious, Emma felt Ethan's hand squeeze hers. Tighter. He's private, successful, and he agreed to say a few words to us. The organizer pointed. Ladies and gentlemen, our foreign investor. Every head turned, at the same time, like rehearsed choreography, straight to Ethan. The entire hall froze, because everyone expected to see a foreigner in an expensive suit with an incomprehensible accent, not the boy with the fallen bouquet. Emma felt his hand squeeze hers. One last time, he looked at her, for a second, just one, and then let go. Took a step forward, toward the stage, toward the microphone, toward the moment he had planned for 15 years. And Emma stood still, heart beating fast, hands still warm where he had held it, watching, as the boy with the fallen bouquet walked back into the hall where nobody had stood by his side. But this time he wasn't alone. because she had held his hand. And now he was going to hold the truth. The hall doors opened. Conversations floated in the air. Light laughter, glasses clinking, soft background music. Emma knew this type of setting, the kind where you feel like your dress cost too little and your credit card thanks you for it. She stopped at the entrance, searching for him. And then she saw Ethan walking to the small stage, steady steps, straight back. Nothing of the 15-year-old boy from before. The organizer handed over the microphone with a smile too excited. "Everyone, our investor is going to say a few words." Polite applause. Ethan held the microphone, looked at the hall, at the faces he knew, at the faces that never really saw him, and took a deep breath. "My name is Ethan," he began, voice calm, clear. "Some here might remember me. Others preferred to forget." The hall went quiet, completely. Someone coughed, another person shifted their feet, but nobody spoke. Ethan continued. 15 years ago, I came to prom with flowers, white roses, exactly 12 of them. I spent $42 for my part-time job on them. Small smile, no humor. I thought flowers would make a difference. Emma felt her chest tighten, because she had seen that moment. In the video, the boy alone, with the flowers, waiting. "I had a date for prom," Ethan was speaking now. "She agreed to go with me. I thought that meant something." Pause. "But when we got to the hall, she saw someone more interesting, someone more popular, someone who didn't bring cheap flowers." Emma took a step forward, without thinking, just feeling, wanting to be closer, wanting him to know that someone was listening, really listening. Absolute silence in the hall, not even breathing. She let go of my hand in the middle of the hall, in front of everyone, and went into someone else's arms. Ethan looked directly at someone in the audience. And that night, I understood something important. For some people, humiliating others was better than any music. Emma felt tears burn in her eyes, but they didn't fall, because she couldn't miss a single word. Not one. "I left that party thinking I was worthless," Ethan continued, "that I would never be enough, that I would always be the invisible boy nobody chose." She took another step, heart beating like it wanted to run away on its own. "But something funny happened after that," Ethan said, and for the first time, a real smile appeared. Small, but real. "I decided that if I wasn't enough for that world, I would build my own." He took a step forward. "I left town, worked 3 jobs, studied at night, slept 4 hours a day for years, and little by little, I built something, a company, then another, then another." Murmurs began to circulate, low, confused. "And when the committee looked for a place for the reunion," Ethan continued, "I offered my house." Pause. "I just didn't say who I was." The murmur stopped. Instantly, Emma felt the ground disappear from under her feet. "Wait. What?" "This mansion," Ethan said, gesturing around, "is mine. I bought it 3 years ago. When I came back to Riverside, the mysterious foreign investor?" He smiled crookedly. "That's me." Someone dropped a glass. The sound echoed through the hall, and Emma thought, okay, so the mysterious foreign investor is actually the owner of the mansion, and the store, and probably the entire town. Great. Super normal. I'm definitely not having a nervous breakdown right now. "And the car dealership where some of you work," Ethan looked at a specific man in the audience. "That's mine too. 90% of it, to be exact." The man dropped his glass. Whiskey splashed on the floor, on his shoe, on his pants cuff, but he didn't even notice, just stared, mouth open, face going from pale to red to purple, like those toys that change color in water. Emma recognized him. Brandon, the manager who had been rude to her, the same one Ethan had confronted at the store. And suddenly everything made sense. Everything. "So when you invited me to the reunion," Ethan continued, "I thought it would be interesting to accept, see who still remembered, who changed, who stayed the same." He stepped down from the stage, closer to the audience, closer to Brandon. "I didn't come here for revenge," Ethan stated, voice soft but firm. "I came to remind everyone, including myself, that the boy who was left in the hall didn't stay there. He left, grew up, and built something no one can take away from him." Applause began, slow, hesitant, then faster, stronger, until the entire hall was clapping, except 3 people. Brandon, a blonde woman next to him, and Emma, who couldn't clap because her hands were shaking too much. Ethan stepped down from the stage. People approached, wanting to congratulate, wanting to talk, wanting to apologize for things they'd never mentioned before. But Ethan only looked for one person, and when his eyes met hers, when he saw Emma standing there, blue dress, hair loose, eyes wide, everything stopped. He walked to her, through the crowd, without looking away. Not once. He stopped, right in front. "Hi," he greeted. "Hi," she replied, voice hoarse, full of emotion she couldn't hide. "You came," Ethan observed. "You own a mansion," Emma responded. It wasn't what she wanted to say, but it was what came out, because her brain had shut down, completely. Ethan smiled, small, but real. "I do," he confirmed. "And the store. That too. And you were humiliated at a prom 15 years ago." "I was." Emma took a deep breath. "Okay, so that explains a lot. Like everything. Literally everything. Including why you didn't blink when that guy was rude to me. You were probably thinking, wait until Monday, buddy." "Emma." "No," she interrupted. "Let me talk, because if I don't talk now, I'm going to explode, or faint, or both at the same time, which would be pretty dramatic but also pretty embarrassing." Ethan waited. Patient. As always. "I didn't know," Emma confessed, "about any of this. I just thought you were a nice guy who liked bad coffee and strange conversations, and who looked at me like I was, I don't know, interesting." Which was already confusing enough without adding mansions and businesses and traumatic pasts to the equation. "You're interesting," Ethan murmured quietly. "I'm a mess," Emma corrected. "That too." She laughed, half crying, half laughing, completely lost. "Thank you," Ethan said, "for staying." Emma shook her head. I wasn't going anywhere. And she really wasn't, because for the first time she understood why he came back, understood why he disguised himself, understood why he looked at her that way, like she was the only real person in a world of masks. Someone touched Ethan's shoulder. He turned. Brandon, red face, sweat on his forehead, forced smile that looked more like a grimace. "Ethan, man," Brandon laughed loudly, nervously. "What a story, huh? Teenage pranks, right? We were young, stupid, you know how it is." Nobody laughed, nobody agreed. The entire hall watched, in silence. Brandon cleared his throat. "But look at you now, CEO, owner of the store. That's incredible." He extended his hand. "No hard feelings, right? Water under the bridge." Ethan looked at the hand, then at Brandon, and didn't shake it. "No hard feelings," Ethan declared, voice neutral. "But no fakeness either. You made choices, Brandon. I made mine, and now we live with them." Brandon let his hand drop, smile fading. "Right," he mumbled. "Right." Emma couldn't resist. "You know, Brandon, if you're looking for a new job, the diner is hiring. We don't pay much, but at least nobody humiliates you. Well, except the ketchup. But that stuff attacks everyone without discrimination. It's pretty much equal opportunity." Brandon looked at her, confused, not knowing what to say. Ethan coughed, hiding laughter. Brandon turned and left, crossing the ballroom, alone, the same way Ethan had done 15 years ago. When he disappeared into the crowd, Emma whispered, "Sorry, I couldn't resist." "Don't apologize," Ethan asked, really smiling now. It was perfect. The blonde woman who had been beside Brandon approached, alone. Brandon hadn't even left the ballroom yet, and she was already walking in the opposite direction. Expensive dress, perfect makeup, smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Ethan," she greeted. Sweet voice. Fake. "Do you remember me?" Ethan looked, really looked. And Emma saw the exact moment when he recognized her. The moment when the memory came back. "Sabrina," he answered, without emotion. "Of course. I wanted to apologize," Sabrina spoke quickly, eyes shining, not with tears, with opportunity. "For what happened. I was young, silly, I didn't know what I was doing." "You knew exactly what you were doing," Ethan corrected, gentle, but firm. Sabrina blinked, surprised, as if she didn't expect him to talk back. Well, things were different back then." She tried again. "But now I see who you really are, and I thought, maybe we could talk, have coffee, reconnect." Emma felt something warm rising in her chest, something that felt a lot like jealousy. But before she could speak, Ethan answered. "No, thank you," he refused, simple, direct. "I already have plans." And then he took Emma's hand, in front of everyone, in front of Sabrina, in front of the entire room, and intertwined their fingers, firm, secure, as if he was saying, "This is my choice, and this time nobody's going to take her away from me." Emma felt her heart explode, literally. Well, not literally, because that would be problematic, but figuratively, very figuratively. Sabrina looked at their intertwined hands, then at Emma, then at Ethan, and left, without another word. But she didn't go after Brandon. She went straight to the bar, because for some people, loyalty was just a word. So, Emma began when they were alone. Well, alone in the middle of 50 people. You just held my hand in front of the ex who humiliated you. That was necessary, Ethan completed. I was going to say romantic, Emma admitted, but necessary works too. Both, he corrected. Emma smiled, and for the first time since entering that mansion, she didn't feel out of place, didn't feel small or inadequate, because his hand was holding hers, and that was enough. Let's get out of here, Ethan suggested. Where to? Anywhere, he answered. As long as it's away from here. Emma looked around. At the ballroom full of people who suddenly wanted to be Ethan's friend, at the people who ignored him for 15 years, and who now wanted a piece of his success. Best idea you've ever had, she agreed. They walked toward the exit, still holding hands, and when they passed through the door, Emma looked back one last time. The sound of the party stayed behind as they walked across the lawn. Emma was still holding his hand, and this time she had no intention of letting go. The grass was wet, cold under her feet, but she didn't even care. Because for the first time in 15 years, Ethan wasn't alone on that lawn. And she wasn't stuck inside a diner counting tips. They stopped near the edge of the garden, where the mansion's lights still reached, but the noise didn't. So Emma began breaking the silence, words coming out fast, because silence made her nervous. This is weird, right? We're like walking, holding hands, like normal people, except you have a mansion and I have 3 diner uniforms and a dream of someday buying an air fryer. Ethan laughed. 3 uniforms? 3. Emma confirmed. Serious. One has a ketchup stain that won't come out even with prayer. Another has a torn pocket, and the third is the fancy one. The one I wear when there's a health inspection. Sophisticated. I'm a woman of many talents. Emma stopped, looked at the city in the distance. I saw the video from the dance 15 years ago. Ethan went quiet. I saw you at the door, Emma continued. Voice lower now, alone with the flowers, and I felt such anger that I almost broke my phone. Like really almost, I cracked the case. Pause. Not at you, at them. At everyone who thought that was funny. It wasn't, Ethan answered. Simple for me, I know, Emma whispered. And that's why I held your hand today. Because nobody should leave alone twice. Like, once is already bad. Twice is the universe being mean. Ethan turned, looked at her, really looked. And for the first time since he came back to Riverside, he wasn't hiding anything. I was scared, Ethan admitted. Scared to come back and find out that nothing had changed, that I was still the invisible kid that nobody picked. But you're not, Emma spoke firmly. You never were. Like, okay, you were kind of invisible, but not because you weren't worth anything. It was because everyone here is really blind. Ethan smiled, that small smile. That meant he was keeping something. You always wanted to see the world beyond this town, didn't you? He asked suddenly. Emma blinked. What? You mentioned it once, that you wanted to travel, see different places. Oh yeah, I do. But like, do you know how much a ticket costs? It costs like a lot of tips, a whole lot. I'd have to serve ketchup to the entire state. What if I showed you the city in a different way? Emma frowned. Different how? You're going to take me to the diner's roof? Because I went up there once and it's just pigeons and old antennas. Sound in the distance, low, growing, propellers. Emma froze, turned slowly, and saw a helicopter coming down, on the lawn. No. Thin voice. No, you're not serious. I am. Ethan smiled now, completely. You're telling me we're going to get in that flying thing? Helicopter. I know the name, Emma practically shouted. I'm just in denial. Like deep denial. Denial level, this is not happening to me. The helicopter landed, wind hitting the grass, her hair, the hem of her dress. Do you want to see the city from above? Ethan asked, extending his hand. Emma looked at the hand, then at the helicopter, then at the city in the distance. This is crazy, she thought. Like, crazy level. I'm going to tell my grandkids and nobody will believe it. If I survive to have grandkids. If I die, she declared, I want you to know I'm going to haunt you. Like, I'm going to be the most annoying ghost in history. I'm going to mess with your stuff. I'm going to hide your remote control. Noted, Ethan replied. Emma took a deep breath. 3 times. Okay. All right, let's go. But if I throw up, it's your fault. She took his hand and walked toward the helicopter. Legs shaking, heart beating really fast. Inside was smaller than she imagined, and much louder, like way too loud. The pilot waved. Polite, professional. Emma waved back, with her hand shaking. "Hi," she spoke loudly, because the noise was too much. "Just so you know, this is my first time in a helicopter, and also my first time in a vehicle that doesn't have wheels. So if I scream, it's normal. It's part of the process." The pilot smiled, gave a thumbs up. Emma sat down, fastened her seatbelt 3 times, pulled, checked, pulled again. "Emma," Ethan commented, holding back laughter, "the seatbelt is fastened." "I know, I'm just checking. You know how it is. Safety first, always, like always." The helicopter started to rise slowly, then faster. Emma closed her eyes tightly. "Breathe," Ethan murmured softly, hand on hers. "Look outside." "I don't want to." "Emma, trust me." Emma opened one eye, just one, then the other, and looked. The city. Riverside. Seen from above, the streets she knew by heart now looked like lines. The diner where she worked was a dot. Her parents' house, even smaller. "Wow," she murmured. "My problems became the size of ants, like really small ants, baby ants." Ethan smiled. "It's good, right?" "It's surreal." Emma still looking, like, "I spent my whole life thinking the city was huge, that I'd never be able to leave. And now it looks small, like it fits in my hand." They flew in silence for a few minutes, just the sound of the propellers and the wind, and both of them breathing. Then Emma spoke. "I always thought I was trapped," she said, looking at the city, like, really trapped. Trapped at the diner, trapped taking care of my parents, trapped in this small town where everyone knows everyone and everyone knows you burned your hair trying to do highlights at home. You burned your hair? That's not the point. Emma sped up. The point is, I thought I was trapped. But now, seeing from up here, I realize I wasn't. I was choosing to stay. And that's different, you know? Like, completely different. Ethan nodded, without speaking, because he didn't need to. "I don't want you to change who you are," Ethan said suddenly, looking at her, serious. "I just want you to not live in fear. Fear of not being enough, fear of not deserving more." Emma turned, eyes shining. For the first time, she whispered, "I can picture a different future. Like, I don't know what it is yet, but I can see that it exists. You know, that there's more than just serving coffee and wiping tables." "There's so much more," Ethan said. The helicopter made a smooth turn. The city spun, and for a moment, Emma felt like she was flying. Not in the helicopter, but for real. "I think," she began slowly, "that I was always afraid of flying. Not like actually flying, but like trying new things, getting out of my comfort zone. Because what if I fell? What if I wasn't good enough? And now I'm literally flying." Emma smiled. "And I haven't fallen yet. So like, I think I can try other things too." Ethan smiled, that complete smile, that she was starting to love. When they landed, the party was over. Guests had left. The lawn was empty, just the two of them. And the night. Ethan helped Emma get down, hand in hers, steady, secure. "So," Emma started again, words coming out fast again, because the silence was getting heavy. The good kind, the kind that made her heart race. "That was like the craziest thing I've ever done, and I once tried to make a 3-layer cake without pans. The whole thing collapsed. It looked like a giant pancake. And another time Emma," Ethan repeated, closer now. She stopped, looked at him, heart beating hard, so hard she was sure he could hear it. "I'm talking too much again, aren't I?" she whispered. "No," Ethan smiled. "You're being you, and I like that." Emma felt her face get warm. "Oh, okay, cool. Like, really cool. Super cool, actually. I also like you, being you, which is you." Ethan laughed, quietly, and took a step forward. Emma took a step too, and tripped, over her own foot. Because of course, oops, sorry. Words rushing out. "I swear I know how to walk, like I walk every day, for years since I was a baby, but sometimes my foot forgets how it works and—" Ethan caught her, hands on her waist, steady, secure. "Emma," he murmured, voice low, "stop talking." "Okay," she whispered, stopped, completely silent, like a mime. "I'm a mime now." And then, finally, without interruption, without disaster, without anything in the way, he kissed her, slowly, softly, like he had waited 15 years for that moment because he had. And she kissed him back, with all the passion she had saved up, all the courage she had found, all the love she didn't know she could feel. When they pulled apart, Emma was smiling, eyes closed, breathing fast. "Wow," she murmured. "Wow," Ethan agreed. Emma opened her eyes. "So, like, are we going to pretend I didn't trip before you kissed me?" "We are," Ethan smiled. "Great." Because in my head it was super romantic, like a movie, without the tripping part. It was romantic, Ethan assured her, tripping and all. You're good with words, like really good. I would have said something like, your face is nice and ruined everything. Ethan laughed, for real. Loud. And Emma realized it was the first time she heard that sound, without filter, without control, just him. Then she heard another sound. Footsteps. On the grass, coming from the gate. They turned at the same time. A figure standing at the entrance, lit up by the garden lights. Brandon. Alone. Without Sabrina, and by the look on his face, maybe even relieved. But with a camera in his hand and a bitter smile. Sorry to interrupt, Brandon said, voice drawn out, but I thought you'd like to know that this beautiful moment of yours just went viral. Again. Emma felt her stomach drop. What? Brandon turned the camera screen, and there it was, her and Ethan, kissing, on the lawn, live, for everyone to see. So, what did you think of this story? Tell me in the comments. Was Emma's catch-up a villain or an ally? Did Brandon get what he deserved, or was it enough? And the most important question, do you also talk to objects when you're nervous? On a scale of 0 to 10, what grade would you give this story? Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and see you next time.